In this 2-minute Java lesson, we extend the last lesson, which made a simple array. And in this lesson, we will extend that lesson and add a for loop to that array, which will allow you to enter data. Here's the simple program we made in the last video. All it does is declare and initialize an array, and then use a for loop for printing out that array. And here's the output of that program. We're going to modify this program to accept user data. To do that, we have to understand that whenever you have a new operation with an array, it usually involves a new for loop. So if you are entering data and printing data, there are usually two different for loops for that. If you're manipulating data in between, there's usually another for loop. In this example, we're going to actually separate the declaration and initialization of the array. That's an option that you can do with Java. You can also initialize and declare in the same step, but we're going to choose to separate them for this example. This is the declaration for the array. It's a string array with 5 elements. Notice we have to say how many elements there are, which is the array size. And that allows the computer to set aside enough memory for an array of 5 strings and attaches the label grocery to them. The variable name is the label on the memory that's being used. When we enter data to an array, we commonly say something different in the first prompt. For instance, give me the first piece of data. In the next prompt, we might say, what are the next pieces of data? For that reason, I've pulled the first prompt out of the loop and kept it before the loop. And then the input below it is for the very first data item. It usually surprises students that I recommend to stop and test. I recommend to stop and test frequently because it catches the typos before you get to the part that you don't understand of the program. So do the part that you understand first, then test it to make sure you don't have any surprise errors, and then go ahead and do the hard part of the program, in this case, the for loop. Now we add the for loop that's going to allow you to enter items 2, 3, 4, and 5, which will be index numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. The index starts with the second item. Remember, it's zero-based. That always confuses students, and it confuses people during testing. 4 is the last value of the counter I, because 5 is not less than 5. So 4 is less than 5. The whole program fits on the screen, but just barely. It's still a very small program, but it helps to see it all together. This is a program that uses 2 for loops, one to enter the data and one to print it out. The output of the program is what's shown on the screen here. It allows you to see the input that I put in, apple, banana, celery, donut, eggs, and allows you to see the list that it outputs. Notice I made a little bit of a mistake. I had a space before the word apple. That is still part of the string. The next 2-minute Java lesson will be an example that shows creating a program that has 2 arrays that share the same index. An example of this type of approach would be a grocery list like the one that we just created here, but a separate price list. So item number 1 on the grocery list has the price of item number 1 on the price list. After that, I intend to record a session that will have to do with exception basics. So the exception handling basics that are built into Java. The next 2-minute Java lesson will be an example of 2 arrays that share the same index. Then the example of